Hi guys, I think I'm gonna post this on Defending Elvis. King Creole, my favourite of all of Elvis's films. I thought we'd do a bit of a deep dive into it. I've been going back and forth, back and forth. In the end, we've come up with this post and we found some pictures. My throat is still bad. I've actually got a bit of a headache today. I don't know what to say, guys. There seems to be flu everywhere at the moment. I don't feel too bad, just a slight headache. Throat's still a bit dry. Anyway, let's read off this post. Now, of course, guys, I am in awe of this film. So I'm going to show you a few pictures. I wanted to do a bit of a write-up that is the build-up before King Creole, a sort of an introduction to the story behind King Creole, the fact that it was originally intended for James Dean. You know, obviously to tie that in with Elvis being drafted, Gladys obviously becomes very unwell, and then you know the filming of it and the success of it, and why this is literally could be Elvis's best ever film. Yeah, it's definitely my favorite without a doubt. So I'm going to read it now. My throat is a bit croaky, so I'm going to just, it's quite a long write-up, but let me just quickly show you the pictures. Of course, Elvis looked absolutely fantastic, took the role very seriously. That is, wow, what a brilliant picture. Now, in case my wife does turn up, I may have to stop halfway. Let's just see what happens. I'm just going to go with it. Yeah, so I'm going to post it live to you guys on Defending Elvis. And I actually remember watching this as a little kid. Obviously, it was a rerun. One of my biggest memories is watching Elvis movies Saturday afternoon in England. I love all of them, no matter what they were. I love them all. But I do remember this one in particular. Certain ones really stand out with me. Jailhouse Rock, GI Blues really stand out with me. And we love Walter Matthau, don't we? Crawfish, guys, come on. So you know, there's many people that go back to the original set where this song was recorded. It's almost unchanged, isn't it? Just brilliant. It's literally a 10 out of 10 for me. This movie had a great cast. The storyline was great. You know, the guy who played his father really stands out to me. The insecurities of being a youngster in the 50s, 60s, you know, it's all there. It definitely does have a bit of a rebel without a cause feel to it. So I do understand how this was, I think, written for James Dean. So let's just read it out. Hopefully I've got just enough time to read it out before my wife turns up. Then I've got to go shopping because I have to cook spaghetti and chili con carne because every Tuesday my wife's mum comes and has the kids. So here goes, guys. King Creole, the untold story behind one of Elvis Presley's greatest films. I would say it's the greatest film. And I also would say that Elvis, if he was given the opportunity, would have carried on making extremely great films. I really believe Elvis had what it takes to be an actor like James Dean, like Marlon Brando. Yeah. And I know that Elvis respected many of the very credible actors of the time. So, a Defending Elvis deep dive. When fans talk about Elvis's best movie, King Creole, is almost always near the top. But the story of how it was made, why it's so powerful, and what Elvis went through personally and professionally during the filming is something every Elvis fan deserves to know. So, you know, there's a very interesting story. So we do a bit of a deep dive, okay, guys? So King Creole, the last film before the army changed everything. So I think most people agree that the Elvis that went into the army and the Elvis that came out of the army were very different, very different. King Creole was filmed in early 1958, just weeks before Elvis Presley was drafted into the United States Army. Elvis had every reason to be worried about what would happen to his career. Rock and roll was new, well, newish, you know. Hollywood didn't fully respect him. Yeah, I agree with that. Elvis wasn't taken seriously as he should be. And many critics were hoping he would fade away. Oh, is that true? But director Michael Curtiz, who made Casablanca, saw something in Elvis no one else in Hollywood had recognized yet. Okay? A serious, dramatic actor with natural emotional depth. I agree, Elvis had that. He definitely had emotional depth, and he took it very seriously. He really did. Curtiz pushed Elvis harder than any director before or after, and Elvis rose to the challenge. He definitely did. The role, Danny Fisher, Elvis's most realistic character. Elvis plays Danny Fisher, a teenager struggling in the French Quarter of the New Orleans, torn between poverty, crime, music, loyalty to his family, guilt over his father's struggles, and temptation of gang life. Guys, even me in the 70s, growing up, you know, gang life, you know, small gangs of kids, bullying people was pretty common, even for me as a small child. And the temptation of gang life, which in London and the cities around England, like, is very much still a problem now. Gang life, even now, is a problem. Luckily, my town doesn't really have it, but some cities in England still has these problems. This wasn't a lightweight musical fluff. This was gritty, dramatic, emotional storytelling, and Elvis excelled. Many critics said Elvis should have pursued dramatic acting more seriously because King Creole proved his natural talent. 100%. I would say everyone thinks that. Even Walter Matthau, who played the villain Maxie Fields, famously said Elvis was an instinctive actor and that he was very good. Behind the scenes, Elvis was under enormous pressure filming. During filming, Elvis was preparing mentally for the army, dealing with constant media pressure, worrying about what would happen to Gladys and Vernon, and trying to prove that he was just a rock and roll singer. So that he wasn't just a rock and roll singer. You know, Gladys must have been poorly, I would say. Elvis, he really did worry about them. Gladys Presley's health was declining, and Elvis felt torn between his responsibilities at home and the demands of his rising career. I get it. Everything was changing for Elvis. Elvis had experienced massive success, hadn't he? Yeah, and he was approaching. Well, he was already heavily involved in his movie career, wasn't he? By 58, Elvis had some movie success. Love Me Tender, I think, is a pretty good film. You know, there's a colour version of it free on YouTube. I found it. I've watched it a few times. I actually have grown to like Love Me Tender. It was one of my less popular films that I liked, but I've actually grown to think it's actually pretty good. The acting is I think is great. Yet when Elvis when the cameras rolled, he delivered one of the best performances of his life. The soundtrack, pure New Orleans magic, it sure was. The King Creole soundtrack is one of the strongest of Elvis's career. I love it. I love the King Creole soundtrack. Key songs, King Creole, Trouble, Hard-Headed Woman, Crawfish, and Dixieland. Of course, I love all of them, but Crawfish, guys, come on. How can you not sing it? The music mixes rock and roll, blues and jazz, New Orleans street sound, and perfect foundation for Elvis's voice. Elvis later said that this was one of his favorite soundtracks that he ever recorded. The cast and crew of one of the strongest ensembles Elvis ever worked with. Director Michael Curtiz, who was a legendary Hollywood filmmaker. His co-stars were Carolyn Jones, Walter Matthau, Dolores Hart, and Vic Morrow. All excellent actors. Curtiz treated Elvis like a serious actor, not a novelty. He gave Elvis the respect that he deserved, I think. Many people on set commented that Elvis absorbed direction quickly and wanted to improve every single day. You can tell, guys, when you go through his career, Elvis took it very seriously, learned everyone's lines, really had massive expectations of himself. Yeah. And there's interviews out there where he discusses his desires for becoming an actor. Obviously, as he comes out of the army, he discusses it then and a few other times. Elvis really did want to be a very successful, serious actor. He really did. Why critics loved King Creole in 1958? This was rare. The press usually attacked Elvis no matter what he did. I think Elvis had a bloody hard time, didn't he? With the press, with the news clips and magazines, etc. I personally think Elvis was quite unfairly treated and was, painted as a bad boy, a juvenile delinquent, someone who's inciting reckless behavior with the teenagers. I just think he didn't deserve it. If they knew his heart and knew his Christian beliefs, knew the true Elvis, they would have treated him differently. But they fell for the unfair portrayal of poor Elvis. Didn't he suffer that his whole life? Doesn't he still suffer that now? He's very unfairly portrayed as a wild man of women and drugs and partying. It's just so unfair. Nothing like the true man, the man that we have all grown to love. Yeah, well, we've always loved, haven't we, since we discovered him. But with King Creole, critics praise his acting, his gritty atmosphere, which it definitely had. Obviously, the music, the direction by Cortez was excellent, and the emotional depth of the story. Even decades later, directors like Quentin Tarantino, the list King Creole as Elvis's best film. It is, guys. And do you know what? Reading this makes me want to put it on. I'm going to see if I can find it. What makes King Creole special for fans? It captures Elvis at a moment of transition. And that's true, guys. He was still the rebellious 50s icon, but on the edge of becoming the global legend that we now know. King Creole is the last film made before the army experiences reshaped his entire life. It sure did. Obviously, even meeting Priscilla, that had a massive impact. It's raw, it's powerful, it's emotional, and for many fans, it represents Elvis at his artistic peak. I agree. And Elvis made some life-changing friends, didn't he, in the army, in basic training, and when he went over to Bad Nauheim in Germany. So he's still seeing Anita Wood, isn't he, guys? So I think, didn't Anita Wood visit him on set here? I'm pretty sure she did. I'm a big fan of Anita Wood, guys. For me, one of, if not a favourite girlfriend of Elvis. I actually think both of them really did think they would marry one day, Anita Wood and Elvis. And we've got the book, and there's some beautiful love letters in the book. I'm going to read out those love letters. It just wasn't meant to be. Elvis was too young to settle, and he was too young to fall in love. Get it, guys? Elvis had his whole life about to unfold in front of him. I think any woman Elvis chose, Elvis just wasn't ready. That's how I see it. So, the aftermath, a masterpiece left behind as Elvis entered the army. Right after filming ended, Elvis reported for military service. He didn't know if his career or rock and roll itself would survive. But do you know what? I question that. I mean, Colonel Tom Parker really knew how to keep things going for Elvis. And come on, the fans were never going to forget Elvis. He had changed the world. Yeah. Elvis, it seems, Elvis is reported as being quite insecure about his career, his future, if he'd be forgotten. Don't know. King Creole became his final message to the world before 2 years of silence. I am more than a singer. I am more than a star. I can act and I can carry a real film. History proved him right. So, they act as if Elvis goes into the army and that's it. No one hears Elvis anymore. Everything goes quiet for 2 years. It's not true. Elvis was very much alive through his 2 years through his time at the army. And the Colonel made sure of that, kept releasing songs. And obviously you could buy loads of stuff relating to Elvis. So I don't accept that Elvis was like everything went completely silent for 2 years. I don't accept that. I would say the opposite. There was a hunger for Elvis, I would say. Just my opinion, guys. Basically, we at Team Elvis, we celebrate this film. Come on, guys. We're so proud of Elvis. His dedication, his emotional depth, his professionalism, which was excellent with this film. I think he did his best on especially the earlier films. He always gave it 100%. His love for acting, it's obvious Elvis really was hoping to be one of the best actors in the world. And I think he had the ability to do it as well. He wasn't given the opportunity to really properly shine. He did in this movie. I quite like him in Jailhouse Rock. And some of the more comical movies were excellent. Like, I really like GI Blues, yeah. Elvis has, you know, in different interviews, he's made it very clear. Eventually, the cheesy movies would make him literally feel physically sick, yeah. But he was tied into these contracts. Obviously, he was the highest paid actor then of all time, even getting a percentage of the royalties of these movies. So it is what it is, guys. Could you imagine if Elvis had gone on to do roles like A Star Is Born, and he was offered many other very well-known roles, very well-known. It's funny because someone told me the other day that he was almost in Grease. You know, the guy that walks down the stairs, beauty school dropout. And I know that's quite a cheesy, corny movie, but I just think Elvis, given if the right things came his way, which I'm sure Elvis was offered many things that would have transformed his career. Obviously, he was at the top of his game musically. I just think Elvis again would have completely changed history with his acting career if the right things happened. It wasn't meant to be, but this has just made me want to go and watch King Creole now. So just a basic discussion. Leave it in the comments what you think about all of this. We know that film was originally meant for James Dean. Unfortunately, we all know about the crash. We're big fans of James Dean here, aren't we? I love Rebel Without a Cause. He's just a brilliant actor, isn't he? And we miss him, and he died way too young. And I think Elvis massively respected James Dean. And it's funny how history just has its own little way of moving the goalposts. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Big shout to Team Elvis. You rock, my guy. And we'll be back for some more. I want to do a live, but the weather's crap. If I do a live, I'm going to do it on the Elvis Presley Fan on Keto channel. So let's just see what happens. Okay. Take care, guys. Love you all. And I'll be back